So right now, just put some shapes in. And then we can figure out what we want to actually put on them. I think I know which one I want to put on this one. So I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger so I can have some room to work. Yeah, I just quickly sketched that. I still have to finish the hair, but okay. All right, so I need something slightly bluish. Yeah, I'm using black. Turns out black fabric is black. I don't know. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I just kind of painted quickly the rough rim light. Not that you'll really be able to see this underneath, but it adds a little something. Just trying to give a little bit of shape to the patches. create a little edge highlight to make them look like they're standing off the jacket slightly. Okay. So let's start with this one. So you really want the paint to trace really well when you're painting freehands like this. You don't want to be like struggling to get a good line. You want it to flow like right off the end of the brush. So we're going to get the basic geometric shapes in, and then we can paint in the other shapes. Yeah, so just make sure it's not too thick, like thin it down a little bit. If you have trouble, you can try mixing a little ink into the paint if you need some extra flow, or you can try flow medium. And if you screw up a tiny bit, not a big deal. You just come back. So you can see some of my lines are not perfect. Get your lines right first. So here, this line kind of sucks. I'm going to fix that line. And then I can take a little bit of the black. And just fix that shape. I leave. Okay. now. Yeah, I have them actually on the desk. I'll show them to you in a second. And then this doesn't really matter because you can't see it, but we'll just put a couple of lines. I don't know. So it's pretty hard to see what the heck. And then with it shaking, but anybody tell what that's supposed to be? Yep. There you go, Mini Man. So you got it. So if I need to, I can come in and paint a little bit in between some of the lines just to but it's so tiny that really just need to give the impression. Okay, what else we got? We got, what other bands? Want shorter ones. All right, we'll do this one. Maybe we'll do Kiss on one of these. Actually, that one is more square. Kiss will go. Oh, no, we're definitely not doing the Kiss logo on that one because then all you'll see is the SS. So, nope. All right, we can try this one. I need my glasses. These are just a tiny bit too small. What did I do with them? So you can see that was no longer tracing. Too watery. Hi, Elma. Anybody? Anybody got it? Yeah, man, it's mayhem. Got some metalheads in the chat. It's okay if I need just like that one comes a little low, because I just add a little bit extra space on the bottom. Mayhem is a Norwegian black metal band. All right, so because this one's on this side, we need some of the rim-like color. So I'm actually going to start in the middle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little further tall than what I want, because I'm having a hard time getting like perfectly straight lines, right? Or perfectly boxy shapes. I go a little beyond, I can then paint back over top of it. So rim light is like this. See the blue light that comes in from the side? That's a rim light. Okay. So I intentionally went a little long on these. And now I can take the black, just paint a line over top. And it's going to, oh, sorry, crisp those lines and make like nice 90-degree angles. Okay, what else can we do? Hey, Meow. You want me to paint the fiend? I can do that. So you want to figure out landmarks, right? So we know, so using the reference, I know he's got this jaw. So use that as like a major reference point. And then the top of the head. The Crimson Ghost. Then come down the center. Create the eye shapes. And then come across. Get the cheekbones. Leave a spot for the nose. Right, so it's like very basic shape. And then you can come back in with the black to crisp things up, right? So this eye needs to be a bit bigger. So does the nose. And then you need to leave some spot for the teeth. It's the Misfits logo. It's the Crimson Ghost. Let me get a little bit smaller brush. Who's the crazy frog? Is that the crazy frog from like the ringtone ads, like the phone ringtones back in the day? Is that what you're talking about? Get out of the way here. Like Alright, so the teeth don't need to be perfect. They're just kind of little dots here and there. The actual art has them like knocked out. So just a few dots works fine. We're trying to paint the impression of the logo, not literally paint it exact. And again, it's not quite centered, so I'm just gonna extend the patch a little on the bottom. Who's that? Ringbolt. Hello, thanks for following. When it's like that, just gives you the idea. So the reason I'm starting from the right is because if I start from the right and go to the left, if I run out of space, it's just the rest of the patches behind her hair. Are you asking if someone has purchased this figure? Yes, this figure is claimed. See, now we don't have space for the rest of it, but it's whatever, because it just goes back into her hair. And that's a freehand. Little letters. But if you want to do one where it's, you know, you're going to be able to see the whole thing, I recommend starting in the center. Even this one's a little offset. I can fix that a little by just going in and getting rid of it. Am I painting something else? I'm going to paint a big tattoo on her chest. Or if by something else you mean something else like this. Hi Spark Minis, thanks for following. So this is another figure I'm working on. See more tattoos. So much fur. I actually really love how the back fur is sculpted. Some of this fur is a little more rough in terms of sculpture. Same with some of this fur on the front. But his hair and like the fur on the back of the bear is like super well done. This stuff is like a little over detailed for me, but that's okay. So yeah, that's for another video. Okay. So now we want to do her chest tattoo. So we're going to start just by like blocking in some shapes. Then we can go back and use some of the other elements or the skin tone if we need. But first things first, we got to get the like size right. Size and placement. Making sure it's in like the center. The big thing is to just like not be overly concerned about like being super clean right at this stage, because you can always go in and clean up. Huh? Okay, that's fine. The hair's not done, Sean. Thank you. So notice I'm not using a pure black either. This would be a how to paint the owl meme. Ravage Paints, thanks for following. All right. It's actually a bit high. So I'm going to fix it like this. It's okay at this stage because I can put other element. There's going to be other elements coming off of this. Sorry if I'm blocking it. My bad. I'm trying to paint very, very small here, so don't do typically paint extremely tiny things, extremely close-up stuff on camera. So you have to be patient with me. Okay, so there's like the rough shape of the owl head. I'm actually going to have him just a little bit of his body showing like this, and I want it to taper down. So I have a reference, but I'm not going to follow it to the T because I want to paint the shape, like I want to follow the form and contour of the body, right? So instead of quite what they did where the claws are coming out forward, I'm going to have them going down and then into like in between the cleavage. So we can do the talons at the bottom. Maybe even do some tail feathers. Yeah, I'd like to do some. So I'm gonna actually change it up again. So I'm gonna have these come out like this, kind of come down like that. Those will be shape for the tail feathers. And then, hello, Bruce Hollywood. Thanks for following. And then the wing shape, I'll create feathers later, but right now I just want to get like the actual contour of the wings. So have those come out like that. And then we'll have the top of the wings come like this. Okay. Now, I want another element. I'm going to do like a circle here. So another circle. Being perfect is not all that important at this stage, because a lot of that's going to get filled in. So you can see like this is not balanced at the moment. This gap here is smaller than this gap. But her neck does twist, so I need it to slightly start to curve inward. So we're going to make this one a little bit bigger. Because the skin twists and moves. Right? So something more like that. And I'm going to have the inside of this. Actually, do I want it like that? Yeah, I think I do. Thanks, Acrylic Geek. So I think I want it to be a crescent moon. Like such. And then we can start to fill in some contour shapes. These are just like, this other stuff is just going to be like surrounding filigree and things like that, just to give more interest. Not so important, like necessarily what it is, just that it's there. That wing's probably going to have to come down a little bit. That it was kind of my inspiration. It's not exactly, I'm just sort of doing what fits, but that was kind of the idea. This is the fly-by-night cover. All right, now we are going to have it come like all the way up her neck. So I'm just going to paint a line across to where the tattoo stops. And then we can think about what kind of shapes and things we want to fill it in with. Now that's getting filled in. So we'll probably do the chest first and then figure out what we want to do for the neck tattoo. All right, but I'm going to go smoke real quick and then freehand the rest of this. I might even put, I don't know, something small here or just another little thing here. But we'll see. Maybe we'll do some kind of roses or something. You leaving me? All right. I'll see you later. All right, I'll be right back. Hello. So I think I'm going to change it up. I think I have an idea, a different idea of what I want the neck tattoo to look like. Some of that skin tone color that we had. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually just going to like fill her neck in black. I'm going to make this. So I need that moon shape that I have. It's way too much. All right, so first thing I need to do is I need to get where her cast shadow is. This needs to now be like pure black because this is the tattoo area, right? So we're gonna have to repaint some of the rim light on her neck because we're covering it. But that's okay. We can do that at the end. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill her entire neck in with like a night sky tattoo. So this all the way down to here is now going to be black. And then we're going to come up to here. Okay, something like that. And then for this area, it's in light, but it's still the black tattoo. Fill that in with a lighter, slightly grayish tone. Hi, Revzo. Thanks for following. Right? Something like such. Then, now I'm going to grab it. This is my skin tone color. I'm actually going to make this a full moon instead. So we'll come back in and we'll add some shading. To it to make it moon. It doesn't have to be perfect because we got to add the shading to it. Still just sketching at the moment. Then I'm going to fill this all the way down to the owl. Who's that? Snurb. Hi, Snurb. Thanks. Okay. All right. Cool. Make sure I get the cast shadow here from the black part of the tattoo. Teeny. Thanks, Nerb. Okay, so now we got to paint. Now we can sketch in. First thing I got to do is I got to fix the eyebrows of the owl. What's going on? Did I miss something? Bloom. Thanks for following. Everybody showing up at the same time. All right. It's okay if this is not perfect. Like I said, we are just sketching. Okay, now create each kind of component of the wings. So you get this, and then you get into these like smaller feathers. So I'm going to create these like rows. See ya. Thanks, Celebloom. Yeah, if you guys ever want to check the VODs, I upload them to YouTube now, so you can always go back and watch later. Okay, so now I've created these kind of rows, and then I can paint create little individual lines. I'm not exactly counting or anything. Just trying to be kind of equally spaced with them. I often find it easier to clean up with the lighter color afterwards. It's sort of like a back and forth where you create some detail, then clean it up, then create some detail, clean it up. So you can see I'm kind of cutting in to the line. Blay, thanks for following. Right, so I'm going to cut in. Like such. And then I can go back with this. Create that roundedness to the feathers. All right, now I'm going to mix some of the gray with the skin tone. And I'm going to use that to just push a little shadow into each feather. Can also create some shadowing on the head. But I want to get these really small if possible. So like I said, everything is about just like back and forth, making these. Don't try and just paint the thinnest possible line the first try. You can push and pull the paint, right? Push the edge smaller, push it wider, like paint it thicker, then you then cut in with the skin tone to make it smaller. So you get really thin marks. There where the cut in has gotten kind of thick, I'm just gonna, or not thick, but it's like too defined. I can see where I cut into the paint to create clean up the lines. I'm just gonna glaze some of that skin tone towards the line to hide that line I cut in. Okay. So I was originally going to do the talons, but now I think because I'm going to do these as tail feathers, I'm not. I'm just going to get rid of them. All right, so something like that. Same deal, I'm making this bottom line a little extra thick. So that I can come back in with the skin. Okay. Like such. This makes sense to everybody. This is clear how I'm kind of approaching this and doing this. Making sure it's not cool. Okay, then I can use a little glaze like I did before. Now I'm creating some like shadow in the tattoos. I can do the same thing to the feathers. So I want that clear dark line versus the light. Yeah, I mean, we're not doing like super, like a colorful tattoo. I think you might have that problem, but because it's black and white, it's not like as much of a problem, right? Yeah, we could look at what it looks like zoomed out. We'll get a little fancy with the moon here in a bit, but want to just get the feather shapes right. Is that K7NC, thanks for following. Hello. Okay. Use the brush this way to make these feathers a little rounded. Clean them up. So now we're just kind of using dots to create the feathers instead. In fact, all right, so here's how we're going to do. We're going to make sure his eyebrows are like well defined. We need these to be like really clear. Okay. Make sure we get the top of the head clear. Want some of these lines to be as crisp as possible, but we also don't want to see like the individual lines where the black starts, right? And then the base of the next area this should all be like the same gray. So you don't want to see like a dark brush stroke in between. Add some little details to the owl's face. So like this one, so I'm going to keep moving back and forth like this. I want a clear line around this eye, but there's also a little, paint a little fold in the eye near the, I don't know what you call this, like right here. You know, like right here. Okay. Hi, Striker. So the one thing I want is I want the eyebrows to come down and meet that, the beak. So like that. Okay, just like that. And then we'll do the same thing with the beak. We'll push that light right up into the crux there. So you get that nice, well-defined shape. And then for these areas, these little tiny feathers, what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to fill this. I'm going to fill this whole thing. Chewy fingers, thanks for following. Okay, something like that, right? Now I can take and just do little dots instead of trying to paint like the lines of the feathers in between, I can use little hash marks with the brush to create like really small feathers like this. Okay. Make sure I get that shape just right. Okay. It is my job, Chewy. All right. Now, how big do I want the moon? I'm okay with that size. It does need to come over even a little more. Needs to be a little more like that. But here's what I want to do. I want to take this. I'm going to take some darker tone. Thanks, Larzoid. So I'm going to have a little something like this, right? This will make sense in a minute. I promise. Okay. See? Get it? So we're just kind of making irregular cloud shapes. And then to make the, what is it? The inside shapes of the moon. So the moon is like not perfect. This is why I did not care that much before about how the moon wasn't like perfectly base coated. Whoops, sorry. Now we just use that kind of randomness that we had. To create those like moon craters. Okay, these got a little dark. So I'm going to take some of the skin tone and I'm going to glaze them down towards the cloud above. So this is like a lighter, a little bit of my mix. So again, I'm creating some of those cloud shapes, like I want to create that silver lining effect. All right. Now, make this feel like it's part of the same thing by putting some of these shadows back in. Then we will paint the sky on her actual neck. Or the night sky. Yeah, man, we move quick over here. You gotta pay attention. All right. Now the other thing we gotta do is we gotta get the cast shadow back in from her collar. And the way we're gonna do that is we're gonna take some of this gray brown, our tattoo color, and real thin where that line is, we're just going to glaze some of that on top of the tattoo. Okay, come on, zoom, focus, there you go. Right, now we get that cast shadow back in. And if we want to make the tattoo feel more like part of her skin, I'm going to take some of this skin tone color and glaze this down. We're just going to glaze it like right over top of the tattoo. This is going to lighten it, make it feel a little faded. Like she's had it for a while. And it just helps it feel like it's part of the skin. Be real subtle with that step. You don't want to go crazy with it. So we want the gray, the grayness of the tattoo to be even kind of across the whole tattoo. Want it like kind of the same level of gray. So if you get a few spots that are extra dark for some reason, just glaze a tiny little bit on there and that'll help it merge together. Deekus, hello, thanks for following. All right, so now what? Now what do we do to the actual neck? We are going to take our skin tone again, and we're done with clouds. Now we're just going to put, let me make sure I'm on camera. So we're just going to draw some lines. Don't need a lot. Okay. Putting in the big stars. So it's an elf. So I thought of night elves and they're like the moon. And then I was looking at like album covers and stuff for bands and the Fly By Night album cover. So I kind of combined an owl chest tattoo with a moon. Okay. So like that. Now we made like a little star field. I want one of them to be like extra big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go even bigger, and then I'm going to put little, I'm going to make one of them like really big, really big. If I need to, I can clean it up. Right? To get it nice and tapered, like that one side's too thick. Yeah, I mean, if you need inspiration for tattoos, yeah, just look at like album covers and other tattoo artists. There's plenty of tattoo artists to follow on Instagram and stuff that do cool shit. So follow them and you'll get some ideas. Okay, put these shadows in. And then we're just going to put a couple little dot stars near the bottom. Then using some of the blue, because we're going to put the rim light back in. We're going to change her skin, the stars up near the top of her neck, to like this bluish tone. Right? And then over here, where it's mostly in shadow, I'm going to put a couple dots, but make sure they're not as bright as the other stars. Yeah, it's because the blue is coming from this direction, right? So you get like the idea is to look at her from this way. So they're blue because the blue light is coming from this way. So they would be white. And I could take this and make them like a bit more grayish in tone. If I wanted to get like really fancy with it, like maybe the left side of the patch would be slightly less blue, something like this, so that it just kind of fades into the blue. But all right, and now take some of this blue black, the green blue and the black to make like a turquoise, dark turquoise. Now we need to put this little light back in. It's a subtle thing, but it helps sell the effect. And then up towards the top, we'll mix just a little more of that blue-green. Okay. Well, there we go. Tattooing. Now, if I like the very dark black around her, so what I'm going to do, this is purely for aesthetic reasons. I like that thicker black. I'm gonna make the bottom edge of the tattoo just a bit thicker to like create a nice border around the bottom. Just a bit harder, use some line weight. If you don't know what line weight is, that's a term in illustration, like comic books and stuff, to give like a thicker border to your drawings. If we use just a slightly thicker border, it makes it feel more finished, I guess. Something like that. Afro Cigar, thanks for following. Okay, there you go. The tattooing. Yeah, who knows? It definitely looks like a cover-up tattoo to just get your whole neck blacked out like that. She definitely had this. I like these like storytelling elements. Syntropic, thanks for following. Of like, she probably had this owl tattoo as like separate, and then she had like a big dumb neck tattoo of something else, and then covered up the neck tattoo and like merged it into the with the moon. But okay. Now let's do some finishing work. So when I'm doing this kind of effect over here with the rim light on these threads, realize that like these threads have, you see a lot of the light like come through on the side, right? Because it's not a super thick material. So you want to make sure that like you have that border all the way around. What is going on? Invium and Red Neo 51. That's with all the new followers tonight. Got all the new people in. Welcome all the new people. Bawwork 22, hello. Somebody share the stream on their Discord or something? Am I crazy? Is that what's going on? Am I on front page with 33 views? Cool. Well, hello all the new people. My name's Eric. I'm a professional miniature painter. I'll give the old introduction here. I stream once a week on Wednesdays. If you have any painting questions, feel free to ask. If you're wondering what the heck I'm doing, I'm painting a miniature from Inu Kingdoms. They're a Polish miniature making company. And that's about it. That's my story. I typically paint larger scale stuff, but I also paint gaming minis from time to time. All right, so let's get her armband on. Recognize me from the gram. I am on the gram if you want to, if anybody else wants to check out my work. My Instagram is linked below. I also post all the VODs on my YouTube channel, which should also be linked below, so you can check that out if you feel like it. Do what you want, you know. We keep it pretty chill around here. There's no link? I thought I linked to the YouTube. Anyways, I'm Eric. It's the same thing on every social platform. Eric Swinson on YouTube, Eric Swinson on Instagram. It's all the same. I think it depends on if you're on desktop or not. Yeah, you can go back and watch the old streams. We painted like a orc bust a couple weeks ago. Just like 3 parts. Did the whole thing, pretty much the whole thing. There's typically some stuff that I will paint off stream just because it's not very interesting. Thanks, Dan. Also, hi, Dan. So yeah, there's normally a few things that I paint off stream just because, yeah, I don't find it super interesting to sit here and like do what I just did and base coat a whole bunch of stuff that I'm getting ready to paint. It's not you. It's not super interesting viewing, you know. Like, wow, you painted a whole bunch of details black so that you could then paint more stuff on top of them for 2 hours. Very cool. Yeah, there you go. So that's that. I think I'm going to take a quick break, go use the restroom, etc. And then we'll work on her hair some more and paint her jewelry and everything. And then she's basically done. So I'll be back in like 3 to 5. I'll see you in a bit. Chat from Humots. Humots, I use mostly, where are they? Da Vinci Maestro Kolinsky sables, either the Series 10 or the Series 35. I prefer the 35s, but sorry I missed your chat. If you're still around, hello. If not, whoops. All right, hair time. Let's finish up on her hair. So we're going with a mostly magenta. Just want to make sure we define a few things. Clean up some areas where we got some of the freehand on it. And we'll highlight the braids better. There's also, she's got little jewelry and beads in her hair that we have to paint also. So we're just going to use her skin tone to highlight the magenta. It's a kind of yellowish white. It'll make the magenta very warm. We're just going to first focus on like the major shapes to the hair, right? So we're just trying to get the big clumps of the hair first, and then we'll worry about like painting the little individual strands. Thanks, Doug. Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year, everyone. I forgot this is the first stream of the new year. I'm following my New Year's resolution to stream once a week. Now that's not always going to be possible because I will be traveling to conventions and stuff, but when I'm not doing that, I will try and be on here. some of the shape to these longer strands. The back I'm not super worried about right now. I will do the back, but I'm more focused on the front at the moment. The back also, I have to paint this transition. A little more of that white so I can get that warm white. See, so I'm not here where these big shapes are. I'm not worried about painting like in between the hairs, because I'm going to put more layers over top of it, and we'll create more reflections on smaller pieces as we go up in light. Right now I'm just focused on the big overall shapes to the ponytail or top knot, whatever you want to call it. Thanks, Crash Leo. Yeah, we keep chill, you know, put your own music on if you like music. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions you got. I will try to answer them as best I can. J.A. Matteo. So I'm using I'm using acrylic paint. I'm using a bit of Chimera color, and I'm using some Vallejo model color. Those are my two favorite paint lines, though I'm not necessarily limited to just those. Occasionally use some De La Roni ink and some other tones, but those are the main two I like. My recommendation to everyone is always try a bit of everything and see what works best for you. Different painting styles, you know, each paint flows and, you know, has slightly different finishes and everything. So always use what you like. Yeah, oil paint. So I know some painters, guy that comes in here quite often uses oils on figures. I personally do not like them because of the drying time. Things like this tattoo for me would be like really silly to try and paint in oil. It's just not what they're for. Okay. So now we've got the overall shape to the hair. Now we can add some more and we'll start to get a bit of this pinkish color. You have a particular method for dealing with difference in finish when using something uber matte, Chimera, something more. So I actually don't find that the difference in finish quality. So certain Vallejo model colors like German gray, and I don't know if it's just my bottle, but certain colors tend to be more satin than others. So like German gray for some reason is really satin, but like this, the blue green is very close, is more matte and closer in finish to the Chimeras. Now like scale 75 scale color is like uber matte. And if that happens, you can always like use the airbrush to spray a matte varnish over the top. I like to mix a little satin medium or something into my ultra matte varnish. So I use ultra matte and then I just gloss it to the level that I want. So if I need it to be super matte, I can, but otherwise I typically tone it back just a little bit. I don't like my figures to be like insanely matte, but I do like a generally matte finish. But yeah, just use the air. Once you're done, you can just go back over with the airbrush, or at any point during the process. It's easy to just airbrush over top of it, and then yeah, you can continue painting from there. But to each their own how matte they want it. Typically, I've explained before that like you don't want your figure to be super glossy, because the natural light is going to be like fighting you with reflections, especially if you're trying to do like a complex lighting scheme. You don't want the finish to mess with the way you're trying to portray the light. But some matte is fine, or some gloss is fine, specifically on things that are kind of glossy surfaces anyways. I don't mind a little satin. Like if I'm doing a leather, I don't mind it being a little satin. But I don't want actually glossy. Richard coming in with the puns again. Is that even a pun? Oh, you're making a joke about oil paint. So like her hair is like slightly satin at the moment. I don't mind that. This is not a commission. It was started just for fun, but it is claimed at this point. Sort of Polaroid. It's more about like the shape of the belly. So like on when you have a brush, right? This is the belly here. So a series 10. Let me see. These are both series 10. Do I have a series 35? Not a new one. But essentially, instead of, you can see like the bulb, like the shape is very kind of even. On a series 10, they're more, the bristles are more evenly shaped. On a series 35, the bulb is more at the bottom, and it tapers more towards the end. $3D printed. PLA is the resin, right? FDM is the other one, right? PLA is resin, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, I work with PLA resin all the time. All the figures I do for Privateer Press are 3D printed. Wait, PLA? No, PLA is not PLA is the filament. No, I've never messed with a filament. I would not paint filament. What's the resin printers called? Oh, okay. No, I don't use. I've never messed with filament figures. No, I would if you're thinking about getting into 3D printing figures, I would go with something like the Anycubic or whatever that prints in resin. My recommendation would be don't. Resin printers are great for miniatures. FDM is not the way to go. Yeah, I think it's the Anycubic Photon. I'm not a 3D printer guy. I don't own one, but I have had 3D prints provided to me to paint. And a lot of the ones that I've painted are printed on like high-end, like super high-end, really expensive printers, because they are like production masters and stuff. Yeah, some of the ones I know that I've painted they use like lasers. But to be fair, Larzoid, I do they are for like, professional brands. They're not like hobbyist figures, they're Like people that are like painting me to paint stuff off Thingiverse or whatever. Though I've gotten some people that have I've definitely seen some figures by like that people have printed from Loot Studio or one of those other companies, Nom Nom or whatnot, that have printed them on some what I would call like prosumer, you know, like the Anycubic 8K or whatever, some of those nicer home 3D printers, and gotten really good results from them. Like they look just about as good as the professional grade stuff. Like if you look super close, like you could probably see a difference in some of the really tiny details, but if you're just looking to like print some minis at home to practice on, I think it's a great thing you can do. Honest Blue Art, what's up? Thanks for following. On the whole planet? Wow. I'm going to go to Mars with Elon and be the best miniature painter on Mars. All my figures it's going to be my red face. All my figures are going to be red. And so now we're doing like the really bright. We'll do one more layer after this, but now we're really getting the shines. Got to make her look like she's got cover girl hair, you know? Like she could be on a shampoo or hair dye bottle. Cheap editions. It could be. You know, I don't know what color Elf hair is. Hi, Darker. Thanks, man. Yeah. You can always check them out on YouTube. The streams are on YouTube also. So. I'm not one for waking up super early in the morning, so I don't stream super early. I'm a night owl. the oil slicked, so what, like it changes between different colors, like an oil spill. It's got that like hot metal color shift kind of look thing going on or something. Dark Space God, thanks for following. And Trime TJ, that's what I'm going to go with. Well, thanks for all the new followers tonight. Welcome in all the new peoples. The stream is popping off. This is not right. I don't know if this is, I think this is supposed to be just like a piece of hair, but I don't know. It could be like a piece of jewelry, but who knows? Whatever. Neo. Thanks for following. So here's a little trick with painting hair. Sometimes, so as to not make the hair look too clumpy, you can paint little lines like across. So they cross over the sculpt. They look like little stray hairs or whatever. It just breaks up the shape some, so it's not like perfect. Do the same thing right there. Right? So you get, yeah, exactly. You don't want them all to have like super clumpy. Because even in miniature form, we can't quite sculpt the hair as fine as real hair. Hell, I can't even paint brushstrokes as fine as real hair. So we can do our best and try and simulate a nice soft look to it. For the back of the hair, do you pick certain highlight? So what I'll do, yeah, on the back, basically if you can see, like, you can see the shine of the light above my head, like up above my desk. If you can see the shines on the actual model, you can use those to kind of inform where the highlights will go, right? So you can see like here's one, here's some, here's another one kind of follows this sort of shape here. Another one goes like across right here, and then another one on top of this bun. Now I'm going to paint these. I'm going to paint the back separate because I don't want it to be as pink as the front, because as you turn around, you'll get more of this blue light. So I'll do some of the blue light and make it a bit more purpley. All right, the last highlight, I'm going to go basically cure this color that I used on her skin. Now you can use, I like to reuse colors that I've used elsewhere on the model. It just helps create some color harmony throughout. Even it's not going to like read as the same color because it's next to all this magenta, but it does help just like unify things a little bit. It's a kind of subconscious thing just to create some color harmony throughout. Limiting your color palette is if you have a hard time like making your colors work well together, a good trick is to just limit your palette, right? That way you're not overdoing it. You're simplifying your decision making. And typically you'll end up with a better result overall. The browns were used for this guy that I'm also painting. He is being painted off stream though. He is for another tutorial video that'll be offered by the manufacturer of that figure. That's a Radia. They're an Italian figure company, but that is a separate thing. I'm actually not sure how they're going to release that. If they're, planning to offer it through like if it's paid or whatever, but I'm making the tutorial. They can do whatever they want with it afterwards. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. No, I'm not quite. There's one little spot that I want to make this line of her hair just a little brighter to help separate that off her head. Okay, now we can take some of the blue and some of the magenta and we'll get a nice kind of purple. You can get a really nice purple if you're having trouble mixing purple. A magenta and like a turquoise, not so much turquoise, but like cyan. Can get you a really nice purple. We want a little more of the cyan. so we can have this light transition neatly into the magenta. It's not quite so harsh. Faye Paints? Faye? Hello. Thanks for following. Welcome to the stream. Faye, hello. Hola, caracola. 7v7. Hello, welcome. So many new people tonight, so many new friends. Thanks, these are pretty fun hobby. For me, it's a job, but before I, was a professional, it was my hobby, and I spent most of my time doing it. What do you draw? What kind of... I also have a bit of an illustrator background, so I tend to paint my figures in a very illustrative style. I'm curious, what kind of stuff do you draw? Hi, Sting, SBT, and DCD Collects. Hello, welcome. Large, complex pieces. Yeah, but that doesn't tell me what kind of stuff. Like fantasy or sci-fi or superheroes. Realism. Like dark fantasy. That's cool. You got a favorite illustrator? Frazetta's pretty great. He's probably my favorite. There's a lot of good ones though. Carl Kopinski does some great stuff. Mike Sass. That dude's been working in the industry for a long time. Brahm. Paul Bonner. Yay, Carl's The ambidextrous drawing is a bit of a flex, but it's pretty cool. I don't even know. I've literally never tried painting with my left hand. I don't even know if I could. Yeah, there's no way that's happening. Oh, it's the worst that happens. I mess up a little bit and have to paint over it. It's fine. Not gonna do it on her face or anything. I've done worse stuff in classes to try and nail home the point that mistakes can be fixed. I've taken like just a splotch of painted like a figure and just put like a big splotch of paint right over top of it in class just to drive people nuts. Like, especially during the sketching stage, you know. Like this hair in the back, I would consider more of a bit more sketchy, just because honestly, I know some people are like, "Oh, you gotta paint the back. You know, the back's just as important as the front." No, it's not. Okay, I do not agree with that. The back is not just as important as the front. Majority of the time, one, you're probably almost never going to see it because either just going to post a picture of it or it's going to go in someone's cabinet and they're never going to look at the back of it. They'll look at the back of it like one time when they get it and take it out, you know. And then it goes in a case and you never see the back of it again. Unless somebody's got like a mirror on the back of their case. Even at in-person miniature shows, you don't get to see the back of the miniature. Because guess what? It's on a table and you're not allowed to pick it up. So, Faye, I think normally when on miniatures, because the light doesn't quite act the same way as on larger pieces, you have to reinforce the lighting through like painting it on. I think when you get to stuff like 1/8 scale figures and larger, like the statues and things, that's when you start to see less of the painting light on and more of the just texturing. Also texture, though we can like represent texture like I did on the denim here on a figure, it's harder to sculpt texture on a figure. It normally doesn't sell. It normally betrays the scale because the texture is typically like too large or too deep. It's overly textured. Now, if you're painting for a competition and the judge is going to see the back of the mini, yeah, you should probably focus some time into the back of the mini. But normally I also don't typically want people like spending a lot of time looking at the back. It's not the interesting part of the miniature anyways, most of the time. Like, let's be honest, her hair is not that interesting. So I'm pretty much done with it. I'm going to go in and I'm going to add like one more layer of highlights on the side where the really green part is, just to make this area reinforce that green light when you look at it a bit from the side. But other than that, like, I'm not going to go nuts on painting being super detailed on the back of the figure. No es importante. No me importa. Submitted a mini to a comp. It was a very flat cavalryman painted in non-metallic metal, so I had to focus mainly like 90% of the time to proof profile views where you could see the entire horse. Yeah. Oh, dude. I've definitely been at competitions where they keep them in like cases, and the person running the event is like, they put it in the case, and I'm like, yeah, could you like, you spin that a little bit? Like, it's not quite the angle I wanted it at. That's not the best viewing angle. I get nitpicky with that stuff. But here's a trick for all you people that are thinking about entering a figure into a competition. Let me grab something real quick. We'll use these two as an example. Not that. Do I have another one? Sure. So, well, I guess she's on. We'll consider this a plinth, right? If this was like an actual plinth. So typically a round, well, one, yes, don't leave it on a gaming base, but a round plinth will typically encourage the person who's like picking it up to view it to spin it around, right? They want to like turn it, right? Because it's round. A square plinth, whatever flat side is facing you, people are going to want to hold it like this. So if you want your main angle to be this, turn the figure on the square plinth so he's facing, the way you want him is facing the flat side. In this case, this is the angle I want you to look at him at. So like, because people have a tendency to square things up, right? Don't make your plinth like that if you're doing a square plinth. Yeah, normally they oblige if you ask them to turn it. No, I hate name tag. Don't put name tags on your models. I hate them. I just think they look stupid and distract from the model. I would never like give someone a hard time for putting one on their figure in a competition. I'm not going to be like, ugh, why would you do that? But they're not my... I wouldn't use one. Especially when they're really silly. Like, I get it if you're like using it to... Like if you want to do a comic book and you're using the name plaque to like further sell the fact that it's a comic book and you like, you know, do it that way, I think it can be cool. Normally I just think they're kind of cheesy. It's a very historical thing to be like, this is what's his name from 13th Regiment in 1874. You needed to know those specifics so that you can tell that his uniform is the right color. For competitions with more than one skill level, any tips for figuring out which level is the most appropriate? So if you've been painting for more than like a year, I would recommend you enter the intermediate level. If besides that, when you're trying to figure out if you should be in master's level, the real answer is you'll know when you're in master's level. I think that's the best answer I can give you is that when you are ready to enter masters, you will know that you should be in masters. Like I said, I don't mind nameplates. I just don't think they typically add anything. If they do add something, then that's cool. But normally I think they can just be distracting. So normally we'll only ever move people up if they should be in like a higher division. We won't move people down. And we'll normally only move people up if they would win something in the higher division. But yeah, enter where you're comfortable. And then when you know you're ready, you'll know you're ready, you know? You know what I'm saying? You'll know. Yeah, typically I would say if you've won a gold. But not all competitions are equal, right? Like PAX Unplugged is not the same level of competition as Nova Open. Yeah, I think it definitely helped Faye. I think what, like, understanding color theory, composition, lighting and shadow, those are all things that transition well, right? The things that don't is just like brush skills. I was never really a painter. I did learn to paint like on canvas, but it wasn't like my primary focus. I mostly did like colored pencil and like charcoal and stuff like that. Ink drawing. So more of it was learning, more for me was learning like brush technique and stuff. Getting good at like controlling my paints. And then there were some definitely a few struggles like understanding how to like render certain volumes in 3 dimensions instead of 2 dimensions. Like that was a thing, but I'm sure like some art background helped ease that transition to painting minis. I like listening to audiobooks. So I'll either watch like there's a couple streamers I'll watch. Normally I watch them on YouTube because I want to like go back and watch them play like a video game because I don't get much time to play video games anymore. I will live vicariously through someone else playing through a video game, or I listen to audiobooks, and I tend to listen to a lot of fantasy audiobooks. Hey, Audible, if you want to sponsor me, I use your service a lot. Just saying. Maybe if I say it enough time, Bezos's voice detection software is going to pick up and be like, oh, you want some Audible? All that's going to do is give me a bunch of Audible ads for a service I already pay for. Oh, yeah, it's safe to say at some point in my life, I spent way too much time playing WoW. WoW, Final Fantasy 11, Yeah, I'd say that's pretty safe to say. I was on that not Grandmaster, High Warlord grind back in Vanilla WoW when I was but a young lad in my early 20s. I have no idea. I can't remember what server I was on. I picked it and then logged in. I never changed servers, so it couldn't even tell you. I haven't played since I came back to Cataclysm for like 2 months. But Wrath of the Lich King was the last time I was like really serious. No, I did not dip my toes. Don't have time. All I do is paint. All I do is basically paint. I was on that competitive painting grind. I can tell you I was on Shiva in Final Fantasy XI. I've just always, the reason I paint a bunch of Warcraft figures is just because I've always liked the art style, right? I mean, I loved what's called back in the day, I loved Warcraft 3. I was terrible at Warcraft 3, but I liked the single player mode a lot. Never been good at RTS games. Much better at like League of Legends where you control one character. League was probably the last video game I played really serious. I've taken time to like take a break and play like Fallout 4 or played Sekiro, but I don't play like a ton of video games now. I have time to play KDM. I'm just waiting on new stuff. I want that new stuff. There was a mode. It like I liked. I never played Defense of the Ancients, but there was like a Horde mode where you played like a Horde mode mod in Warcraft 3, where it was basically like a tower defense game mode where you played as a hero and could run around and build towers and stuff. I liked that. So yeah, there were some game modes I really liked that I would play with friends, but I was never really competitive at Warcraft 3. My roommate, on the other hand, was a beast at Warcraft and StarCraft. I was more into fighting games. Any game where I am a, what is that? Micro versus macro, right? I'm a micro player. I like things like Dark Souls where You have like one thing to focus on. Is your KDM fully painted? Heck no, I've got a whole giant box of figures in the closet that need to get painted. It is definitely not fully painted. I'm going to paint the Gambler. Am I planning on how I'm going to paint it? Not particularly. There's stuff I missed from Classic. Oh. Yeah, what was it, Raid Finder? They added Raid Finder and Cataclysm, which I hated raiding. I mostly played for PvP. I did the raid thing in Final Fantasy XI, and it was way more hardcore than the raiding in WoW. So I kind of did that. I stopped playing Final Fantasy XI to do just like the PvP thing. If no one ever played, if you guys never experienced Final Fantasy XI, that game was very much in like the kind of old MMO style of like EverQuest. You couldn't even like level by yourself. You had to be in parties to go like get experience. You could level down from dying too much. I wanted a more casual MMO experience when I played WoW. Got to get that rank, was it rank 12 mount? I think you get it at rank 12. Didn't have to pay for your epic mount. If you got the PvP mount. Rank 11, yeah. Should you build the stuff fully? So here's the best answer I can give for should you leave certain things in sub-assemblies. If it is going to make your life significantly easier to paint it when it's in a sub-assembly, do so. If not, just put the whole thing together. There are certain things, so like on this guy, he's got like a sword and shield, like he's got a big sword and like a horn that goes right across here, and it would block like all of this leather and stuff. I wouldn't be able to get to like these rivets easily, so I left it off because it's convenient to leave off, but I can still paint the majority of the figure. So there are certain things that I leave off just for convenience sake, but I try and put as much of the figure together as possible. Oh, I just play Warsong. Yeah. No, you could do, what's it called also? On my battle group, or whatever you want to call it, the Horde dominated Alterac, or, not Warsong, not Alterac, Arathi Basin so much, most of the time we would just like 5-node them and it would, like, the game would be instantly over. So we didn't really need epic riding. We also had way less players, so we got like instant queues as a Horde player. The population on my faction balancing was heavily skewed towards Alliance, so they would have long queue times and we would get like instant queues. Okay. I'm going to put just a little touch, a little sparkle on the jewelry. There we go. And, oh, I missed one. Well, I'm not done yet. When you go to add the face tat, no face tats. She's smarter than that. No, man. Undead was the best. Put an Undead Warrior in vanilla, having cannibalize and bandages. Had to do that. And Will of the Forsaken was also like the best PvP racial because it was essentially a second PvP trinket. This was way back in the day, but gnomes were the best for no, escape artist was really strong. Yeah, gnome was super annoying. Anytime I saw an undead, I mean, I was a warrior, so I didn't really care about rogues, but yeah, gnome rogues, super irritating. Gnome frost mages, horrible, hated them. Yeah, I remember the arguments. And then we got paladins and Burning Crusade, and I rolled a paladin and crushed people at like level 39. Paladin was definitely better. The only thing Shaman was good for in vanilla WoW at PvP was flag running. They were really good flag carriers. Shaman, great flag carrier. Other than that, unless they were basically just a Wind Fury like stick, you know, like please follow me and give me Wind Fury, they didn't do crap. Sorry, man. I think about it sometimes, but I'm never going back to that. Melee spec? Oh, melee spec. Yeah, no, you wanted to play what was it? Ella Enhance or whatever. It was like the weird hybrid spec. Like they would take like a bit of both. Ella Resto. They would like half put into elemental and half put into restoration so that they could kind of do both. So it was pretty unusual to even get like a Wind Fury totem from a shaman if they were like a serious PvPer, because normally they just were healer like burst damage dealers. Enhance definitely had a harder time one-shotting than Warriors did. Warriors, you could get the sword double proc. It would get like a sword double. It was whatever Sword Mastery did. Two-handed swords could double swing. And if you critted a double swing, like you do like 4,000 damage and just one-shot everything. Basically only other warriors could live through it. Warriors and paladins, anything like wearing plate. Okay, now I'm done. So there we go. That's her all finished. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out, new people. Thanks for chatting, keeping the chat alive.